Welcome to the Scandinavian Mind podcast, our weekly show about how technology is changing the creative industries. Today on the program, how to innovate beauty communication. We are going to revisit a live talk from CIFF, Copenhagen International Fashion Fairs, that we held earlier this year. The need for change in the beauty industry exists on many levels for brands. Efforts around sustainability, diversity and innovation comes down to communication. In this talk, we'll hear from Molly Rådberg, Head of New Markets and Relations at MANTLE, Esteban Villanueva, Beauty Writer and Nordic Beauty Director at Spalt PR, and Louise Rind-Nygaard, Sustainability Specialist at Rudolph Care. This trio will share insights on how to challenge the conversation about beauty, the consequences of the so-called commercial hand of God, and the road to create a more innovative beauty communication. My name is Konrad Olsson, Editor-in-Chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and I'm here at the Scandinavian Mind headquarters with my colleague Johan Magnusson, our senior editor and the one moderating this talk that we're about to listen to. How are you, Johan?
The moderating debut. Yeah, I'm good. And you?
I'm good. I feel like I'm playing second fiddle here. Usually I'm the one moderating, but I'm so happy that you were able to not step in my place, but actually step up to the plate and do this beauty innovation talks down in Copenhagen back in August.
Yeah, I had an amazing time and I could get used to this. It was a great atmosphere. It was a full house in front of the panel when we hosted it. And it feels so long ago, this edition of CIFF taking place in August, but of course we spent a lot of time at the beauty section, visiting leading Scandinavian beauty brands, and also we gathered a lot of insights as mentioned in previous episodes, and really looking forward already now here of beauty brands going to be involved in the next coming issue, the issue of CIFF in the forthcoming winter.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, subscribers to our newsletter Beauty Innovation have already gotten access to many of Johan's sort of insights and observations down at CIFF. How would you describe the temperature in the audience during the talk and also generally at the fair? I mean, we certainly see an increased interest in the topics that we talk about, new technologies, sustainability, and so forth. But what was it like hosting the event, and how would you describe the interest level?
Of course, it was quite special given that the topic was related to beauty, even though beauty apparently, provably, is an increasing focus for CIFF. But at the end of the day, it's a fashion fair, which also now includes beauty. So we were super happy to be invited, and in general a great atmosphere at the fair and during our event. A lot of interest because obviously these topics, as you mentioned, they are relevant for all of the creative sectors. So it's not it doesn't come down to only beauty, but how to handle communication is of course relevant also for a fashion audience.
Right. Now, super excited of sharing this conversation from CIFF. But before we go on, we are hosting our 3rd Beauty Innovation Talks soon in Stockholm. Just realized I've been promoting the upcoming Stockholm event as our 2nd Beauty Innovation Talks, but I did a Beauty Innovation Talks at CIFF in January as well, so which also can be listened to in back in this feed. Super excited about first time we stepped down in Stockholm. We're going to be here at our headquarters at Grev Turegatan 30 in Stockholm. So subscribers to our Beauty Insights newsletter, Beauty Innovation, will get that invite. It's on October 25. We're going to share all the interesting speakers and topics that we're going to cover next week. We're going to go live with the program. So subscribe to Beauty Innovation. Visit scandinavianmind.com/beauty innovation. Johan, are you excited about the upcoming event?
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if I'm going to be the moderator or you. No, I'm only kidding.
We'll do a cage fight about that. But I know for sure that I'm going to grill you about insights. We're going to do a version of our State of Beauty Innovation trend report or insights, like forecast that we do. That's going to be really exciting. Any teasers on that one? Any topics that we are going to talk about?
In order to hear more about that, you need to come to the event or listen to forthcoming episodes of this podcast.
Oh, fair enough. All right. So just a note to say that my weekly editor's letter observation also goes out every Tuesday. You can sign up to that by clicking on one of my columns at scandinavianmind.com. Of course, did a plug for that. So now, here's Johan's conversation with Molly Rådberg, Esteban Villanueva, and Louise Rind-Nygaard from CIFF earlier this year. Enjoy.
I want to start with you, Esteban. We had a conversation beforehand, and I will read through the paper here because it's a bit advanced, but it's quite interesting.
I use a lot of big words.
You hail for gender and sexuality inclusion and equality in beauty in order to modernize beauty as an industry and make it as accessible and relatable as possible. Can you explain?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you guys as well. For me, and this is one of those things that if it's taken out of context, I can be cancelled, so please don't chop this up. When we talk about gender and sexuality inclusivity, we're talking about it from a communications perspective. This is what the end consumer is going to see. And when we talk about this, what we mean is the final message that we're portraying, the final campaigns that we're shooting, we are lacking communication that showcases the different spectrum of how much beauty can be attainable. We have communication that showcases beauty for the traditional consumer, and sometimes when we look especially at men's beauty, we find that when we look at these amazing drag queens, makeup artists that do amazing makeup on their people, do amazing makeup on themselves, but we're lacking seeing the normal guy that just wants to go to work in the morning looking fresh. We lack the normal father that just wants to brush his eyebrows because nobody ever told him he can trim them. Mm-hmm. Yes, there is a whole spectrum, and there's going to be people that look stunning with a lot of makeup on. There's going to be people that look stunning with no makeup on and just skincare. But we also need to communicate everything in between. And that, to me, is the inclusivity that we're lacking. It's not just the two ends of the spectrum. We need to showcase the whole range of the rainbow, if you want to call it that.
Let's head over to you, Molly. You're representing MANTLE here, and you've launched 2 or 3 years ago, depending on how you count.
With COVID, yes.
And ever since launching, when it comes to communication, you put a lot of focus on challenging it. And also going away from what you describe as fear-based communication. Mm-hmm. What can you share here? Lessons learned from it and how those years have been?
No, in a short time frame, actually, we've experienced a lot of gratitude and appreciation towards the way that we're communicating to the world, to our community. And in such a short amount of time, we were able to create a quite engaged community, which for us makes such a difference as a young brand, to get that kind of feedback early on, to help us grow, to help us develop products as such. So it's been super positive. Also, like on the flip side, it's been challenging because if you look at our brand, like we play in a certain price point, so we are in that premium sector, and many of our competitors have a very different style and kind of traditional way of communicating. So in some markets, we're finding as we grow, the consumer isn't used to such a tone of voice, such difference in words. So it doesn't come without challenges, but what we're finding is we believe in exactly the path we're on, and the level of appreciation has been fantastic so far.
I think we'll get back to the challenges because you both represent fast-growing brands, and it can be challenging. Louis, welcome.
Thank you.
For Rudolph, the founder, the Danish beauty princess. Quite a fascinating story, the founder story. What can you share?
Yeah, so Rudolph Care was founded after the notion of participating in a Greenpeace study back in 2006, where our beauty princess was pregnant, and she's always lived a healthy lifestyle. She's always done a lot of sports and cared deeply for her body. And so she was feeling that she was going to crush this. It was a study about the chemicals in her bloodstream. And what they found is that she was the youngest participant, but had by far the most amount of endocrine disruptors, forever toxic chemicals, and other foreign chemicals in her body. And at the time, she was pregnant, and she was only recommended to breastfeed for 6 months due to the fact that that is one of the only ways to actually pass on some of the harmful substances in your blood onto your children. And so she decided to, they backtraced all these chemicals to primarily be from her skincare routines, which she loved luxury brands. And so she decided to go on a journey in order to found herself a responsible skincare company that could provide that niche market of being luxurious, effectful, while being responsible in terms of the way that we utilize natural resources, the way we do packaging, and the overall aesthetic of the brand.
The communication overall, so to say.
Communication overall.
Yeah. Okay, Esteban, if you look at, you're very out and about. You keep track on things. Let's put it that way.
Yes, I stalk everybody. That's what we're trying to say.
Another way of putting it, yeah. When you look from your angle, you have a background as a beauty editor. You now work in PR, back in PR. Can you share any inspiring marketing campaigns that you've followed or caught up on recently or in the 90s? We have a huge 90s wave now, but...
I thought about this question a bit, and well, first of all, I love the campaigns that you guys do. MANTLE is always so provocative with their campaigns, to a point where I was like, oh wow, hello. And Rudolph care as well. Like, I love Andrea. This story is amazing. But when it comes to inspiring campaigns, I will always go back to Milk Cosmetics or Milk Makeup. Milk was founded approximately 10 years ago. Don't quote me on this, but I was in college back then. No, I was in high school maybe. And they had this campaign where they were launching a new type of product, and Milk has this type of formulation that it's not skincare, it's not makeup, it's a little bit of both. People didn't really know what they were. And they had these 20 to 30 second reels, before a reel was a reel, that showcase different type of people. You had, of course, the white blonde girl that everybody had in every campaign back then, but you had the skinhead. You had the extravagant girly with the thousands of hair clips. You had the business guy looking into how to use the oil. And they had like these really fun interactive situations. And for me, it was the first time that I saw something different in a campaign. It was the first time that I saw myself in a campaign in a way that I was like, that is me. And I feel that I want to use this product. I was living in Costa Rica at the time. I'm half Costa Rican. Milk was not available there. I begged my parents, please, can we go buy this? Because it talked to me in a way that no other beauty brand had talked to me before. And to me, at the end of the day, that is what comes back to inclusivity. It's about reaching the end consumer and making them feel part of the campaign. We will never be able to include everybody as much as we want. It's never going to happen. However, the more we try, the better the efforts will be. And maybe one brand won't be able to do it, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 100 brands eventually will reach 100 type of people.
Yeah.
I was about to ask, you haven't experienced the same ever since?
I've been really happily surprised along the way.
MANTLE?
For example, MANTLE, of course, Rudolph care, X-Lash in Sweden as well. They had boys in their campaign. I was like stunning. Shout out to Dior as well. I walked into NK the other day. There was a guy in a huge pamphlet wearing the new lip gloss, and I was like, that is nice. That in Sweden, in a luxury department store, Åhléns or NK, don't quote me there either. I was like, I stopped and I was really happy because it showcases a little bit. I was the first male beauty editor Vogue ever had worldwide. It took them 130 years to hire a guy for the job. And it took them even more for me to start seeing myself in the campaigns. So being able to just walk around, see the beauty panels here at CIFF as well, to see guys in the campaigns. I know some are coming. I won't spoil the details on those brands. But it's nice to see how boys are being included. And it's not just boys. It's gender fluidity people. It's non-binary people. It's every type of people that we want to see.
Yeah. I think just on that point as well with MANTLE, like coming in, being American and coming to Sweden, I always had this impression that, for years that, the Swedish brand, it's that blonde, beautiful girl. And MANTLE was so refreshing. I really wasn't, admittedly, a beauty person. I don't use much makeup. I care about brands. I care about their stories. I'm I'm an interested marketeer. However, like with MANTLE, I found it so refreshing, the fact that they are using, representing Sweden, but in all shapes and forms. We do not, when we talk to casting agents, it's literally about, there are no filters. We shoot the hair on a woman's arm. We even had a situation where the agent called on the day of the shoot and just said, "So sorry, her skin is problematic," and we're like, "Yes, excellent, bring her." Like, and so it's so refreshing to have a brand that actually isn't covering up and striving for perfection and such.
If I'm not mistaken, you even talk about like introducing a new dialogue around beauty.
We have, yes.
What is it?
So, it's evolving, obviously, but the first point is like just looking at the word aging and anti-aging and how so often anti-aging is used within beauty brands, and questioning it. We all age. Like, who doesn't age? So why create this fear-based, this kind of shaming around aging when this is something that's inevitable? We all do it. So let's celebrate it. And so you'll see in a lot of MANTLE's communication, it's about elevating yourself, elevating the feeling. When you feel good, you look good. And it's like lines. We all have lines. Some may choose to eliminate them, cover them. But when you have healthy skin, a glow, the bounce, that comes to the forefront. And the lines, or whether it's uneven pigmentation, goes to the background. So it's really, for us, that anti-aging angle, that why fear it?
Just to jump on that real quick. I used to have this phrase that I say, that's just be pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it all the time. I have it printed in my computer. And one day somebody stopped me. They was like, "That's so rude to say. How can you tell me just to be pretty?" And I was like, no, think about it a little bit more. You decide to be pretty. There is no standard that you need to abide for when you're deciding to be pretty, whether that is with a full face of makeup, whether that is with no makeup at all. It's a choice. It's a choice to be pretty. And I think that the fact that brands are starting to communicate that now even more is what allows the end consumer to feel pretty no matter how they look like. Because it's okay to have wrinkles, because it's okay to have pimples, as long as you feel pretty. And that is a choice that you take. Just be pretty.
Awesome. I really like that.
Yeah.
I just feel like, it's fun that they're taking ownership of beauty as a word, as well as redefining it. Because we've been talking a lot internally about like how we've gone from being a healthcare brand into a beauty brand, and then finding our way back into the healthcare setting as well, which speaks to the fact that when you feel good, you look good.
Exactly.
I really think.
Exactly.
And for you, we see like a power shift here, and I speak about education, because you mentioned before that as a brand, you consider that you have a lot to learn from your customers. Am I right? Can you explain?
For sure,
because
yeah. I don't think
up
that we're
until now,
alone in this
it's
regard,
been the opposite, I think, mainly, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that there's so much, whether you're speaking communications or sustainability or inclusion, that you have to understand like what is the given context of the customer that you're facing. And so to believe that you can reach all of your customers by doing the same thing over and over again is pretty short-sighted. And so, the more that you can include your customers and voice their opinions and have them influence your own value as well as how you communicate and stuff like that, the more resilient you become. My background is primarily sustainability, and so I can speak primarily to those, but we're trying to do stakeholder engagement in order to make sure that we actually align with what does our communities want, what do our customers want, and make sure that all these contribute to a common goal that will actually help shape the way that we move forward in both communication, sustainability, and overall.
It's a new conversation, yeah.
It's a new conversation.
Yeah. And what you two brands, the brands that you represent, of course you talk a lot about female empowerment. It's a buzzword, finally. But how do you use it in your communication?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I can continue. I don't know if we use the term of female empowerment. I think we more so try to shed light about some of the things about being a woman, whether it's gender identity or is some of the things that the motherhood also brings along. You know, post-birth complications which are not voiced enough, menopause and stuff like that, and trying to, what would you say, normalize some of the conversations that are hard to have. And so I don't know if I can exactly speak to the female empowerment, but we can talk about like the normalization and communications regarding the periods that the physiological body undergoes, especially post-birth.
Yeah. No, it's and you know, I hope one day we don't have to really focus on female empowerment, and that all things will become equal. And this is the reality of the time we live in. And so it's wonderful that there's a focus here. And at MANTLE, we are female founded and mostly female led. And there's a lot of girl power. You feel me?
I feel you.
You feel me?
94% girls.
Woo! You are that statistic.
I am.
Yeah, you are that other side. No, but you know, for us, it's talking, you know, going back to what we were discussing, it's like looking at our skin, like skin with experience. So we're just trying to like shift the terminology and the focus and the attitude towards our messaging, our aging process. We're having fun. Like, it's all so serious. And especially, we're a results-driven, we're an advanced skincare company. So many of our competitors are really going down the medical path, the using like molecular terms, like really, you know, very much harnessed on that medical community, which ultimately, like for many consumers, equates to trust. So here we are at MANTLE, and we're commanding the same kind of technology. We're just not talking about it in that same scientific context, which for some maybe doesn't equate to like we're a serious skincare business. But we're using all the same ingredients. We have a chemist, we have a lab, and we're investing in the quality and the advanced formulations. But we're choosing not to focus too much on that, but we're choosing to focus on the feeling you get when you use MANTLE and the community that surrounds MANTLE. And for that, like, it instills like empowerment. And you know, if you ever follow our Instagram, you'll see the engagement. And we're still such a small player, and we're in a few markets, but harnessing that kind of like love and passion is really helpful in this brand journey. But yeah, it's ever growing.
What's your view on communicating female empowerment?
I mean, I think I also now work, like both my companies in Scandinavia have been female-led. And in my opinion, I believe we should just strive to a point where everybody has power within the house. Like, it's amazing to work with brands such as like Rudolph Care, MANTLE. Like, I personally know Andrea. She is one of my biggest inspirations. I say that she's the heart of the Danish beauty industry, because she really is. She powers with the pure love how the MANTLE works. Stine and Josephine as well at MANTLE. I think that female empowerment has been a buzzword at the same time. I think that communications has unfortunately tainted what it means. We love to throw words around. We love to say it's green, it's sustainable, it's healthy, it's clean. What is clean? What is sustainable? What is organic even more? Like, my father, he's a genetist. He hates the whole like organic talk, because he's like, that cannot be organic because chemically speaking it does not contain carbon. I was like, fine, don't fight with me. Like, I'm just here. I think as well, and I want to go back to a point you said, that it's about finding how to talk to the consumer. I have the pleasure of working with a lot of international brands, because you both represent local brands. I have the other way around, where I need to translate American, I need to translate French, I need to translate Italian to Scandinavian. And I think I'm jumping a little bit forward, I hope that's fine. But we're talking about these amazing, incredible corporations coming inside and expecting that you can talk to Scandinavians the same way you can talk to Americans or you can talk to French people. And whilst we're in a time and space where globalization is one of the biggest hot topics and everybody is the same and we're connected, my best friend is in America, my boyfriend is in Asia, beauty is a geolocated matter. And it will always be, at least in my opinion. Of course, we can follow trends, we can follow global movements and global waves, but at the end of the day, the background of the person you're talking to will always be dictated by where they grew up with. How was their culture? What is the reasoning behind them? And that also changes how we talk about them. Like, I would like to think that female empowerment in Scandinavia is something much more intrinsically embedded in the culture than it is in America, or even more in Latin America where my parents are from. Like, thankfully, I don't think that much about it here because it's really well woven into the culture. Whereas in America, sometimes I need to stop myself and think, okay, wait, I forgot to say that we're female founded. I forgot to say that we're female led. Because here, we don't need to say it because it's intrinsic. It just is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just this.
Yeah.
And speaking of different markets, I mentioned before, I think it's very fascinating. When I'm interviewing industry executives, I always tend to ask a certain question. And it's about being a global brand. You're both fast-growing brands. And different markets, they are... Yeah, in Scandinavia, we're quite mature. We have great knowledge. While in other markets, it might be the opposite. It's got to be really challenging because you only have one Instagram account. How do you handle it?
Yeah. Well, for us, the big point for us is we are a CBD brand. So CBD is still like a hot topic. It's often misunderstood. We are riding a wave of regulatory unlocking. So it's all kind of happening in the moment. So there's a big education piece to do around CBD, especially dependent on the market. Sweden really took to MANTLE very easily in terms of the CBD and the combination of actives and botanicals with CBD. Take the UK, for instance. We haven't been there long, but they're more conservative. And it's like CBD had a moment several years back, much more so in the ingestible way, and then they got a little bit tired of it. But what happened was there was such a mishmash of CBD in the market and the quality. How do you measure quality? So therefore, it was a bit tired, in that sense of people are like, oh, you're a CBD brand. But like, yes, no, we are. Our CBD comes from Switzerland. It's the highest, most stringent credentials in terms of growing, hand picking and such. So we have to work harder in certain markets with CBD. And, CBD is just a part of our formulation. So it's not the main story either. But as opposed to, so there's an education piece, but also there's, we are a cheeky brand. And as some of you may know, we are for the face, we're for the body, and we're also, we have an intimate range called the Pussy Collection. Well, the Pussy Collection is like, take France, for instance. We launched with Le Bon Marché in February, and they're like, give it to us, lead with, so we were in outdoors and everything, and it was just all over. You could never do that in the UK or other markets. And I mean, in fact, I had a breakfast event, and I was talking about the Pussy Collection to, this girl who's a great friend of mine, and she's like, oh, do you do a range for cats? It's like, no, we do not. But that's kind of funny. So, this is, fortunately...
Communication.
Yeah, communication at its finest. Marketing. But, so that is...
And I think you said a really, really interesting word, fun. Like, fun is just such an important feature for your anything, just to mobilize people and actually make them feel and make it easy to make transitions. If you make it fun, then it's easy to do. In terms of like what we choose to communicate, whichever market we're facing, it's like our core story, like what is Rudolph Care in a nutshell, our core certifications, the Cosmos Organic, which relates to the ecosystem health and the naturalness of the products, more so than the content of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And then the Nordic Swan Eco Label, which is very prominent here in the northern part of Europe, but once we transition and just look a little bit about beyond our borders, there's a real education piece to understanding what does that actually mean, and then you have to shift the focus from what is the active ingredients from your product, what are the formulation aspects, what do they actually do, and then transition into what does these certification actually mean for your product. And depending on the context of the country, some rely heavily on, okay, they're microplastic free, but for others it might be endocrine disruptors are a big thing. And so there's a lot of understanding, like which part of this whole origin story should we really focus on highlighting and having key in our presence on any platform.
Because certifications can be very, very complicated.
They can.
You know it firsthand.
I know it firsthand, yeah. We have a number of certifications, and we're also B Corp certified. So we have we try and holistically certify our products in order to meet how the naturalness of the ingredients and the growth phase and the respect for biodiversity, as well as the technical performance, making sure that there are no harmful substances or substances that can be challenging for the end environment to uptake. And then on the business side, we also have the B Corp certification, which serves as a framework for how can we improve ourselves. Also in the social performance, where we also...
One of the few Scandinavian companies that actually has it within beauty. It's a hard one to get, so
it is.
Congratulations there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Esteban.
And Esteban, you've also been speaking about so-called the commercial hand of God. I need you to elaborate on this.
Yeah.
So, I might have come up with it if somebody has previous data on this, not purposely trying to copy anybody, but it comes from the ancient Greek stories.
Okay.
When the gods literally moved destiny, but they would move a bottle because they wanted to change where that bottle was positioned, but they didn't think what that movement would change outside the world. Aphrodite never thought that the biggest war in Grecian history was going to happen because she made one prince fall in love with a girl. But it happened. And the history of this mythology at least, was changed. When we talk about the commercial hand of God, it's the same thing with the corporations in the beauty business. We look at them, and because suddenly there's a bunch of exfoliants in the world, the market shifts interest, and you should exfoliate, and you should do it. And everybody here 3 years ago was exfoliating their face. And now, 3 years later, we all have broken barriers, and now everybody's talking about barrier repair creams. But if we don't do it right, in 3 years, we're all gonna have clogged pores, and we're gonna have to talk about detox. And then we over detox, and then we're gonna have to talk about nourishment again. So the commercial hand of God is this very loose term that refers to how the market sometimes plays too much with the destiny of how things are being moving. And when we talk about the fast fashion, but we don't talk about fast beauty. Like, fast fashion was a term that the fashion industry understood fairly quickly, and thankfully, at least in the Nordics, it's been changing strongly, I believe. But we don't talk about fast beauty. We don't talk about how many new products roll out. We don't talk about how many serums roll out. And it's not bad that they roll out. That is perfect. Brands need to continue developing their SKUs. But as brands, we also need to be, and this comes both from the PR perspective, but also from the brand perspective, and from the editorial perspective too, responsible of how we educate the people to use these products. Because no matter how much you want to try a new product, unless you give it 21 days, you're never going to see results. Your skin is not capable of showing you results as quick as you want them most of the time, unless it's like a peel, etc. Details don't matter in this case. 21 days, that's the rule of thumb. Mm-hmm. If we're not aware of this commercial hand of God and we just let ourselves go to whatever trend is happening, oh yeah, today I want to do a full face XR peel because it's going to clean my skin completely. But then I'm not thinking that tomorrow I'm going to be itchy, red, and probably dehydrated because it's taking away the full first layer of the epidermis. But then if I do the opposite, it's a complicated thing to navigate. And for brands as well, especially for the local brands, I believe that they get sucked in this whirlpool of trends. And then because people are trendy, they try to buy the trendy things, which most of the time don't match with the products that the more local brands have produced. Thus, it affects their own business development, which affects the own cycle of the whole corporation. So it is an interesting thing to look. It's not that anybody's doing anything wrong. It's just that we need to be conscious that there is a market movement that we most of the time are not aware of and get sucked into this really trendy movement unless we stop and think, okay, what do I actually need? What is my skin type? What is my hair porosity? What is my reality of concerns and needs and desires as well?
Time is running out. Just a last quick one. What are you working on in the next 1 or 2 years? What are you curious about?
Well, from a sustainability standpoint, in terms of communications, related to your commercial hand of God and what are the impacts of moving certain things, we really want to conduct life cycle assessments on our products as a whole and really highlight what is the actual impact of utilizing this product and showing we meet these criteria for the certifications, but what do we do beyond that? And that is a topic that I'm really looking forward to educating, as well as just trying to see what can we contribute. What can we achieve by doing this?
Yeah. For us, it's a few things. It's growing our footprint, so expanding out of Scandinavia and more so into Western Europe and hopefully to the US and Asia. I mean, it's very much like there's a piece with education, with CBD. So expanding that, and product development, absolutely. Some more face products and such. It's really it's feedback from our community. Often we produce based on their feedback, so it's a nice dialogue in that sense. So.
I'm not producing products. Maybe, who knows? PR perfume.
Stay tuned.
I think for us in the PR community and the editorial community, it comes down to education. Yeah. It's our responsibility, both as editors and as PRs, to educate the community. You guys create amazing products, but without a proper education, people will not know what they do, why they're good at, why they want them. So I think everything comes down to education at the end of the day. It doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound interesting. You go back to your school days where you were like, I don't want to learn anything more, but you actually do. We learn every day. When you ask somebody for a tip, that's education. And that's where we need to crack the code. How do we teach people without they realizing that they're actually learning?
Yeah. And it's such a crowded market. I mean, that's the thing too. So it's really, it's cutting through the noise and such. And for us as well, is it continuing to spread this positive conversation around beauty. Of course, that's kind of like the red thread throughout our business of having fun with it and empowering women, as we were talking
And at the end, enjoy it. Beauty is something that should be enjoyed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, beauty should be done for yourself. Wear the makeup for you, wear the lipstick for you. If you feel nervous about going something, slap on a red lip, slap on eyeliner, wash your skin at night and feel clean when you're going to bed. If you don't enjoy it, what's the point of doing beauty?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank our panel, our live audience. Thank you for coming. For the live audience, you have flyers if you want to sign up for our weekly weekly insights newsletter about the beauty industry, beauty innovation. Otherwise, go and visit scandinavianmind.com/beauty innovation. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.